Behind the Brand features the people who are making things happen. Get the insight to grow your biz from experts who've done it. Get behind the brand.
Hi, I'm Brian Elliott. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Brand. Today I'm here with Jeff Hayzlett, former CMO of Kodak, author of Running the Gauntlet, and entrepreneur, businessman extraordinaire. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You wrote the book for executives, for the decision makers, but this is a book for everyone probably, to get over their fear of change.
Or fear of being a beginner.
Yeah.
Sometimes. A lot of it's being a beginner because you don't know how. And I write about when I first learned to ride horses. You know, I'm a cowboy. Here I am from South Dakota. I wear cowboy boots. Everybody should be able to ride a horse. Well, I didn't know how to do one, other than little pony rides or things like that I might have done when I was a kid. And
so who taught you?
I actually went out and bought a horse, did all the stuff, did all that on my own, and I bought the book, Horses for Dummies. I bought all the videos and everything else that went with it. I mean, and it's hard to believe, and I watched all that stuff, but I still didn't know how to do it. And I remember I finally got my horse to a stables because I figured, well, I should go to a stables where other people were first before I go out to my place that I have where I can turn them loose and, don't spend the next year catching them. And I actually went up to a 14-year-old girl, young girl that was working at the stables, and I asked her to show me how to saddle my horse. And, imagine what that was like, 9-year-old guy at the time, going up, big burly guy, manly man, and I'm having to ask this little girl how to do that. And that was, but I had to get over my fear. But now I know everything there is to know about horses. And, we just have to say, I don't know what I don't know. And that's okay.
That sounds more like putting your pride aside. That sounds more like humility and being teachable and all that. Is that what this is about?
Yeah, I think so. But I think there's also great breakthroughs that you get. I can remember someone once, and here I am, the chief marketing officer of a Fortune 100 company, $17 billion, blah, 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 blah. And I had to ask somebody what called an autotron. It was an advertising, big term, and that you use in advertising. And I said, I turned to my head of brand, and I said, what the hell are you talking about? And she told me, and she looked at me and says, you don't know that? I go, look, I'm great at the things I'm doing. I don't know everything, right. And I expect you to know that stuff, and you teach me. And she goes, hey, good point. And so, I concentrate on things that I try to do well and try to become a maestro at those. And then sometimes I need to know about certain things. That's how I got into social media early. I mean, I was in social media before anyone else was because I went to my team and said, tell me about this stuff. Yeah. And, I'm sure they hated it because I'd call them up every 5 minutes. How do I do this? How do I do that? Show me this, show me that.
I think I first saw you at Jeff Pulver's event, the 140 conference at the Kodak Theater.
Oh, that
in LA.
Yeah. And I was actually tweeting well before then and doing a lot of activity. But yeah, that was a fun event that we did there. And we were doing a lot of really cool, fun, innovative things. In fact, a lot of the corporate policies you see in social media are because of what we did at Kodak at the time.
So what is your message then to these people who are stuck, either paralyzed by fear or they feel like, even if I try to change, the environment where I'm at is not conducive to change? What do you say to these people who feel stuck?
Get out. Move on. There's something better. Why would you want to live your life like that? I mean,
well, that sounds good,
No, it's not sounds good. It is good. Go do it.
Yeah, but wait, Jeff. So if you've got money in the bank, you can do that. But if you've got kids and you got a mortgage and all these things,
get a second job. Find a way to do it on the side. Put in your 40 hours for whoever you're doing, and use the other 120 hours that you should be doing something else to do that. Who says you can't do that? If look. I've been at the pinnacle of certain things and have quit at the top because it didn't meet my conditions of satisfaction. I have 3 things: drive wealth for my family, have fun, and grow professionally. And if I can't do those things, I'm out. In a couple of instances, I've been in situations I was making good money, but I wasn't having fun. Why would I want to waste my time? And, quite frankly, I look back at what's happened at some of these other companies that I've been with. I could have taken packages. I could have waited. Yeah. I could have got them to fire me. I could have done all those things. Instead, I just walked in and said, I'm done. Here's my 2 weeks notice. Let's work it out. And did I lose money? Sure. But I wanted to go do something different. And can you put a price tag on it? I guess you can. Yeah. But God, you're looking at me now, but there have been times where I remember getting a credit card in what was that year? I can't even remember the year. 89, 88. It was Christmas Eve of 1988. I had just gotten fired from the executive director for the American Diabetes Association in South Dakota. The chairman came to me and said, you got 2 letters, one that fires you or one that resigns. Which one do you want? I chose the one that resigned. That was Christmas Eve day. I went that night, applied at Computerland, and got them to give me a credit card. And I bought an IBM PC Junior, and I started my public relations business that day on Christmas Eve night. And then I had nothing. Now, I didn't have much choice, but, this is the things you can do. Take a chance if you think you're worth it. If you don't think you're worth it, stick with what you want to do. Be unhappy. Do all that crap. It's not what I want to do. What
are you afraid of now?
Oh, what am I afraid of now? I don't know that I'm afraid of much things, really, to be honest with you. I really, that's a good question. That's a good probing question. I don't think I'm afraid of much things other than my wife would be about the only thing, and not living up to my expectations for her and my family. That'd be about the only things that I would feel bad about, that I just didn't do the things I should have done for them because I was doing all of the other things that I really like to do. I love to work. I'm a workaholic, which is bad. But I love doing what I do.
I think a lot of these professional decisions are connected to our personal family lives in a huge way.
Oh, big time.
And, we may want to do something because we're dissatisfied, we're unhappy, we're stuck in a cubicle, whatever, but the reality is our decision affects all the people who are at home, who we're supporting or, working together with. So what do you say to those people?
Well, you've really got to have that partnership with your family. I've been real lucky with my family that they've been real accommodating over the years. I travel 260 days a year and have been doing that for many, many years. But I always, when my kids were younger, even though they were living in South Dakota, I always got back every weekend for the most part, except for when I had extended overseas things where I spent months, in Japan or somewhere else. But that was the key thing, is to have that good support and a good relationship. And then we used other things like great technology to Skype and talk on the phone and do some other things. You've got to set aside that time. Covey was a very big influence on me very early. He said, there's certain things you got to have in your life, and that's the balance: your spiritual life, your friends, your family, and your work. And you have to have balance between those four things. I think a lot of us get a couple of those. We don't always get all four. I try to spend as much time on all four. That's why you hear me reference South Dakota a lot. To me, that's my spiritual side, because I can really get back and get connected to the land, get connected to nature and things. That's a big thing for me, where I live and how I live that way. And even though I live in a penthouse in New York, I love the life in my life in New York, but I love my life in South Dakota.
So before you're making these big life-changing decisions, you're consulting with your family.
Oh,
you're getting buy-off. You're getting approval.
You have to.
Basically.
If your family's not happy, okay, mama's not happy, things ain't going well.
Happy wife, happy life, they say.
And the happier she is, the happier I am.
Yeah.
And she's a wonderful woman. She's a saint. I know me, and I wouldn't be married to me. So I can't imagine what she feels like sometimes. And she truly is a saint from that perspective. But she's been my partner. She's my partner, and she's my partner in the business because she's got an investment in this. And there are constant times where I'm betting the farm. I've done it this year again. Yeah. Even though I have a good business partner, Carl Post is a great operating officer for me. He and I make decisions, but I really have to include here on those decisions because I'm betting the farm, literally. Yeah. I'm taking the leverage on our farm to bet against the things I can do in business. Now, she has great confidence in me in being able to do that, but you got to have that. You got to have that support. You got to have that good grounding.
So if you're not really afraid of anything, what are some of these industries that you're going to be a beginner again? What are some of these new business opportunities you're looking at?
Well, we're gonna actually look at doing some conferences and some other things that we think are pretty good. We've seen some real holes in the market, especially for small and medium businesses. We like that, so looking at doing some CEO network. I think the sales officers are underutilized. These are people who really buy products. Mm-hmm. Everybody's targeting marketers right now, but I think there's some other things you can do. And so we're gonna keep investing in this. I like putting business processes and automating them. So we're working with companies like, say, DocuSign and a number of others that I think are going to be great industries for people to be able to tie into.
So you're sticking with tech stuff.
Oh, a lot of tech. Yeah. I like tech. I'm a geek at heart. I like those things. I like tools. There's not a gadget that I don't like and I haven't bought. I buy every time something comes out. I get it brand new, and people say, "Well, wait." And I go, "Why?" I believe in passed down technology. I try it for a little bit, and then somebody on my team gets it. Or they get it and then they give it to me. So I like those things.
Is this a good time to start a business, you think?
That's always a good time to start a business if you got the right market for it, you know where the right customers are, and you can make the right kinds of margins. And it's, again, let's be clear, it's always about driving margins. If you're driving margins, you're driving a good business that's making good money, a lot of things you can do. You know, a lot of business people start businesses thinking, well, I can go and offer it at a lower price. Why? Are you smarter than these people? I doubt it. Come on.
Well, it's easiest thing to imitate, and
Yeah, but I mean, but you know, to think that you can start a new business and you're going to do it cheaper than the guy that's been doing it for 20, 30 years, maybe, okay? But don't go at it from that perspective. Go at it, you're going to be the most expensive. Go at it, you're going to be the richest because you're going to get the greatest value. I think people are willing to buy a more expensive suit because they look better and it's better quality than a cheap suit, you know, because you're going to look cheap in a cheap suit.
Let's talk about appearances and all that. You talk about that a little bit in the book, and I really liked that section actually where you talked about, you know, you can walk into a company and find out what's wrong just by walking the halls.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, you can see every business that I've ever bought or started or even looked at buying, I go out and scope, and I scope a lot. And even when I'm working for a big Fortune 100 company, I go and see how our products are used in the stores, you know, and the way in which the people are presenting them and how they present them. But I think it's important for an owner to really understand what the business is like, so you can almost do your undercover boss kind of thing for your own company. Yeah. So I believe you should be calling in anonymously and checking out, giving orders, checking orders to see what, you know, it's like, how you treat it, how long you put on hold. Call your competitors and do the same thing. But I really believe in walking around and cleaning and mopping and doing a lot of those things because it sets the tone for, you know, a lot of what you do. And when my employees today, you know, and I got an office in downtown New York City, right next to this, in one of the most swankiest areas of the city, and I'm out front sweeping every morning when I'm there. What do you think that message sends to my employees about how we're going to keep up our office? You know, and those are the kind of things that I like to instill, and it gets my thoughts cleared and so forth. But it really sends a message to people. Look, we're going to care about our appearance. We're going to care about what it looks like. We're going to care about the experience our customer has when they walk into this operation. So there's a lot of that you can do that way.
I like the story you told when you were at Kodak about the brand identity change, you know, from the old logo to the new logo, and tell that story just briefly.
Well, I wanted to change the logo. The logo had already been changed, and nobody wanted to do anything. And so one of the things I wanted to do was with the business cards was to change the business cards around. I think that's the story you're referring to. Yeah. There's a couple like that. I mean, I've been known to actually go out and clean carpets and everything else I did at Kodak.
But the security card too had
the security card. Right? They had the old badge. The old badge had everybody's old logo on it, and it had been, you know, they haven't updated the logo for many, many years. And 2 years before I got there, they updated a logo. But yet I was walking around, and all the new employees got new IDs with new pictures and the new logo. So you knew who the old guys were and who the new guys were. Yeah. Well, that was like two classes of citizens, and the old guys weren't good enough. And so I said, why aren't we redoing the badges? So I would go around and start telling people, get your badges redone. Yeah. And, of course, the naysayers and the obstructionists said, you can't do that, can't change it.
We tried to get you in trouble.
They tried to get, I got called into the office. I got called in for the big meetings, you know, again. Yeah, they were always calling me into some meeting for something I was doing wrong, but I didn't care. That was my job, was to create tension. And you create tension, no pain, no gain. And so I started threatening to cut people's badges up. If I saw them with the old badge, because I started putting this, get your badges updated. And the employees started getting in trouble because they would go in and try to get them changed, and the naysayers and obstructionists would say no.
And you even offered to pay for.
Yeah, I said I'll pay.
Because they said they're expensive, they don't want to do the change.
Yeah,
and all
it
that.
was $30,000, But and I said no, we're going to do it. So the employees, I thought, was so cool. They knew that I was getting in trouble on this. They knew here I was trying to drive change and trying to do something right for the company. And yet I had all these obstructionists who, you know, thought they had a say in it, or did in some cases, and they were stopping it. So they started getting labels, and they put the labels over the old logo. And that was so cool. I mean, because that was like they were taking it and saying, we can do this, and we'll do it a different way, Jeff. We're with you. And, you know, that I'm going to get tearied up because it was just a cool way of seeing these people who wanted to change and wanted to do something, weren't being allowed to do it, and then they just pushed through. I know it sounds like a really stupid kind of thing, but it was very symbolic inside this company, hugely symbolic inside of Kodak. Yeah. And by the way, that's the reason why they're still failing today. I mean, is these naysayers, these people that have been there ingrained, and God love them. They're the nicest people in the world, but they believe their best days are behind them. And if you believe your best days are behind you, I don't care what kind of change agents you bring in, what kind of different business models you bring in. If the mood is bad, you can't overcome that.
This is personal for you, isn't it?
It was very personal for me. I mean, people say, well, it's business, it's not personal. Are you kidding me? It's all personal, man. It's always personal, and if you think it's not, you're full of crap. It's always personal, and that's the way you should look at it. And so, to me, that's a very intimate kind of thing, and delivering promises and conditions of satisfaction. And so that's what it should be. And if it's the more personal it is, the better it can be. Actually,
let's talk a little bit more about Kodak and some of the hindsight's 2020. What are some of the things that they could have done along the way to save themselves from some of the things that are
I think
happening
1975 was the most pivotal point in the history of that company.
Digital camera?
They discovered the digital camera, and I think it was the Christmas right before 1976, and they took the very first picture of an electronic digital picture of a photograph. That's what it was. Took this picture, and you imagine bringing it to the board of directors, and here's this company making all this money on film, 4 years, and they believed in the hubris of their success. And so what they did was they put it in a closet. Didn't bring it out to 1996. Then they pawned it off on Apple with all the grace of an anaconda swallowing a rabbit. They shoved it down Apple's throat at the time, a small upstart company, and really hurt them with it. But that was the pivotal moment. So it's 80s and 90s of them not acting on that caused the problems of today. You got to remember that this was a company that people would actually run back into a burning building to save their pictures, save their memories, the Kodak moments. They invented that. They forgot that they were an innovative company, and this is their job, is to innovate, to change, to be different with whatever it is. They can still be that imaging company. They can still be that company that makes, manage, and move images and information, but you're just going to do it digitally. And they forgot that. And when they forgot that, they lost the edge. I had an executive here recently just come back at me the week before they filed bankruptcy and said, I think film's coming back. And excuse my language, but I said, what, are you fucking kidding me?
Good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly. I said, are you kidding me? You got to be on drugs. And that's the mentality. So if you have that inside the company, you can imagine what a guy like me was doing. Every day. I was refreshing. There's no, and a pain in the ass for some people. But for the most part, I think most people would say I was a fresh breath where I walk in and trying to do things. It's like walking through the halls and you would see pictures from 1930s, 40s, 50s, and
the legacy.
The legacy, but and that's okay. You got to remember your history. You got to remember your legacy because it's the core of what makes you who you are. But to not redecorate, to have pink wallpaper up, to have not look good.
Yeah, keep up with the times.
Yeah, so in the middle of the night, I used to recruit this team of people, and we would go and steal all the things off the walls. Yeah. And then hide them.
SEAL Team 6.
It was like, my own special SEAL team. Sometime I'll tell you our secret code words and those kind of things. But we had this team, and that's what we do. And then we'd replace them with the new stuff, just to start. And even when people said we couldn't do it, buildings were against it, the groups were against it, and there were so many people there that wanted to do the right thing, but the processes and the procedures and the things that they had in place were so archaic. Yeah. They had different dining rooms for different levels of employees.
Like a class system.
Yeah. And things like that, and you're going, what? It's disheartening because it's got so much potential. It still does. The key thing is, you remember a company like Kodak, is there are businesses there that still make hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, still in profit, still today. And those businesses can still make that money.
So you talk about the ink and printer business.
Yeah, the commercial printer business is a good one. That's a company that they bought, 6 years ago and is making good money. And those are the things that they should be, doubling down on instead of some of these other things, the legacies. The camera business is a bad business, always has been. Just, get out of it.
So let's break down some of these little lessons for business owners, big and small. What have you learned then from that experience about change, about, if you've got a legacy brand or you're in a mature industry, right? How do you keep it fresh?
First of all, to be willing to change. Be willing to change, whatever it is. And that is to always have a mood about yourself of innovation. People talk about innovation. Really, it's about being an agent of change. To say, at the core, this is who we are. Yeah. So for Kodak, it was about material science and imaging science. Okay? So they made things. They used to, grow their own cattle, slaughter the cattle, melt down the bones, make gelatin, squeeze it into tiny little drops, filter it down into, 21 different layers, made that thin little thing called film, and they did it in the dark. That's a company that's material science. And then the imaging science of how they apply the imaging to it. So So what can you do with that? Well, how about just put ink in that thing, and now you can make inkjet printing. That's an innovation.
Right.
So decide, first of all, that you can be at the core of who you are, but yet be a great innovation or a great agent of change. That's the first thing. The second thing is your mood. Is to have the right mood. You can be a small business and have a shitty mood, and if you suck offline, you'll suck online if you try to move to digital model. So really focus in on that mood of your company, and do you have the right mood?
And the people, too. You say, if you don't have the right people, get rid of them.
Yeah,
set them free.
And by the way, and I'm probably the worst at that as anyone, just like everybody. I try to think we can change the people. I try to think we can still work with them. They're good people at heart. You know what? I'm always wrong. I'm always wrong, and we should just recognize it. Go to the person and say, you're not happy, you're going home every night crying, and it's not working for you, and I love you, we're going to miss you, but I love you. And let's find the right thing for you.
Getting fired or getting let go is tough.
It's always tough, but it's in the book, I believe. I think I put this in here again. But I had an employee that I let go, was in that same situation, and someone came to them and said, "Oh, I met this guy that used to work for you." And I go, "Oh, what did he say?" Because I knew I'd gone to him and let him go. And he said, "You were the greatest." And it was because we had that frank condition of satisfaction discussion. So,
well, a lot of times these seemingly bad things that happen, it causes you to get thrust into another situation, which turns out even better.
It's pushing through the fear, which is that next piece of it, which is, again, I get back to that, the fear of change. And then the last is take risk. No, come on, no one's going to die. And even if you're running a small business, I know it's tough. If you haven't, you've not been an entrepreneur if you haven't, lied awake at night, very late, knowing whether you're going to make payroll the next day. I understand what that's like, So, go ahead. No one's going to die.
So maybe a lot of people don't know this, but you are responsible for pitching this idea on Celebrity Apprentice to Burnett, is it?
Yeah, Mark Burnett. I remember when I called Donald Trump. I wanted to do something with the inkjet printers at Kodak, and so I called Donald Trump. I didn't know who else to call. I didn't know who produced the show, so I called Trump.
Sure. Someone said, "You're in New York. You might as well."
Someone said, "How'd you do it?" I said, "I called 411, and I asked for Donald Trump, and they said we have a Trump organization, so give me that phone number." So I picked up the phone. Well, what the heck? I'm from South Dakota. I know you can't reach people. What the heck? We call people all the time. So I called Donald Trump and couldn't get through to him. Left him a message, and then he called back, and then we had a discussion, and I said, it helps to be the CMO of a Fortune 100 company because you can get through to people. But my message was, my value statement is, what I left him was a message that said, I have something that's going to make you money if you'll call me back.
Teaser, good.
Well, but it's
what's
a
in it
hook.
for them?
Yeah, it's a hook. It's my short elevator pitch.
Yeah.
And so he called me right back, and then I said, here, I've got this idea for The Apprentice. And he goes, well, we're not doing that. And I said, well, you should really think about the celebrity version. He said, well, we're thinking about doing some different things. Why don't you call Mark Burnett? He's the guy that produces the show. I said, well, I don't know Mark Burnett. He says, well, let me give you his number. So he gave me his number. I called Mark Burnett, Survivor and all that, and we hit it off. And we had the discussion, and I said, well, if you're going to do this show this way, and I think celebrity version would be a cool way of doing it, we went in. And then they tried to pitch me on a couple different things, which I didn't like. Yeah. And the team didn't like. And so then we came back to Celebrity, and then they said, no, we're going to do a Celebrity Apprentice. What do you think? And this is how we're going to do it. And I said, love it, we're in. And then I was on the show for like 3 years. So.
Talk about the elevator pitch. You talk about 8 seconds, and then you talk about 118 seconds, is that right?
118 altogether.
Yeah.
So, when I was, at this company, people were coming and pitching to me, and they come with this 40-page PowerPoint presentation. At the end of the hour, I still don't know what they do.
Yeah.
And I don't have that attention span. You and I both decide we're going to do business with somebody in seconds, literally. Yeah. Under 2 minutes, I'll guarantee you. And whether it's the energy, chemistry, or the message, it's all of those things combined make a great elevator pitch. But yet, I couldn't figure out what these people were talking about. So I said, look, you got to get this clearer. And so, and I said, give me your elevator pitch. And they were still these 40-page PowerPoint presentations. So I finally decided to redefine it. And so my first book, The Mirror Test, I said, let's digitize this. Let's make it the digital version, the 2.0 version. Yep. And I came up with the 118 to describe it. So 8 seconds is the average attention span of an adult. All right, know that to be true. I looked that up on the internet. Literally, I did. I looked it up on the internet. The attention span of an adult, and they came back as 7 point some seconds.
And this is many seconds required to write a bowl. You talked about
right, exactly, right, yeah. And so, to write a bowl, you got 8 seconds to write a bowl. Some good analogies. Yeah. And so, the toughest 8 seconds you'll ever have. So, 8 seconds should be your pitch, your hit, your hook. To get that lean-in factor where I want to, lean in to listen to the rest of your message. And then 110 seconds, I looked up and found was the average elevator ride in New York City, because I figured, what's the tallest building? Let's give them the tallest buildings. Sure. And so that's what it was. From the time you press the button, wait for the doors to open, step on, ride up or ride down, and get off. That's 110 seconds. So I combined them. 8 seconds to hook me, 110 seconds to close me. You have 118 seconds.
So what are the components of that 8 seconds? I mean,
it's got to be a hook. It's got to be excitement. It's got to be saying, ooh, what piques my interest to be able to pay, I tell people, for instance, I only work with companies that are high growth. And that usually they can tell me right then, well, we're high growth. Okay, great. Then let's talk. So what is that hook that's for your company that makes me want to say, aha, I want to hear the rest.
So should it be a customized message for the person you're talking to?
As much as possible.
Okay.
It's got to be core to your value statement of who you're doing, but it should have some implication to their business. If this guy's done his homework, that makes me want to listen to the rest of it. So give me the 110 seconds. And the 110 seconds, don't tell me all the people you work with,
don't
or try
to
impress me or any of that stuff with that. I don't care. Yeah. But, maybe to reinforce it afterwards, maybe you tell me these companies because they've hired you because of these things.
Yeah,
but those aren't the reasons.
Proof.
Yeah, right. Those are validators, right? But those aren't the reasons why I want to do it. So tell me the value statement that you're going to give to me. What is it you're going to do for me that, that got my interest in the beginning to close? So you need 110 seconds to close. And I tell people jokingly, like, in these PowerPoint presentations, I mean, Moses did it in 2 tablets of 5 bullet points each. You should do it in a lot less. And we can. You can boil that down.
I love that.
It makes it easier. Makes life easier. And by the way, if a person can't get it in that, you don't want them as a customer,
Jeff, I appreciate spending the time with you. It's been great.
A pleasure. Thank you very much.
We've been talking with Jeff Hayzlett, author of the book Running the Gauntlet. This is Behind the Brand with Brian Elliott. Thanks.
This Behind the Brand episode is brought to you by Raven Internet Marketing Tools. Powerful data and tools for online marketers. Get a free trial at raventools.com/behind.